Today I want to share my model railroad story with you. In telling you my story, I will try to answer three questions. 1. How did I get into model railroading? 2. Why did I choose N scale? And 3. Why did I decide to model the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision? My model railroad story, that's coming right up. Hi, I'm Roy Smith. Welcome to my layout. As you may recall, this channel reached 1,000 subscribers back on July 19th. In response to that milestone, I invited each of you to tell me an idea for a video that you would like to see uploaded to this channel. The video idea contest lasted a month, and on August 16th I selected and announced the winning idea. The winning idea was submitted by Ron of Ron's Trains and Things. I will post a link to Ron's channel in the video description down below. So, in response to Ron's video idea, here are the three questions I will try to answer today. First, how did I get into model railroading? Second, why did I choose N scale? And third, why did I decide to model the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision? First, how did I get into model railroading? I'm going to be brief in answering this question because I have already discussed it in part in a previous video called Why is Model Railroading the World's Greatest Hobby? I will put a link to that video at the end of this video. Let me just say a couple of things that I didn't say in that video, or things that I should re-emphasize. Like many of you, my fascination with model railroading began as a kid when I received a Lionel train set for Christmas. I was only 10 at the time, and the year was 1957, but that Lionel train left me with a lifelong passion for trains. 2 additional trains were added to my fleet soon after the first one, and the trains running in circles on my 4x8 layout seemed like magic to me. I spent many hours dreaming about having a layout like the one that appeared on the back of the cover of the Lionel catalog in 1957. But my interest in those toy trains faded as a teenager. By the time I was 15 years old, the Lionel trains got put away in the attic and were never resurrected again until I dug them back out as an adult and took them to a hobby store where I sold them for an absurdly low price. I did become somewhat interested in HO scale for a while, but I never pursued it very far because a career and real life got in the way. Later on, I discovered N scale. In the mid-1980s, I began to build an N scale layout, but I never finished it because, once again, my career got in the way. Today, I would never go back to Lionel trains, but they did leave me with a passion for model railroading that I still have to this day. Okay, second question. Why did I choose N scale? Well, as I just mentioned, I dabbled briefly in HO scale as a young adult, but my career took me away from the hobby, and when I came back to it, I went straight to N scale. In the mid-1980s, I built an N scale layout, and just 3 years ago, in 2014, I came back to it again after a 30-year hiatus. As I'm sure you know, each scale has advantages and disadvantages, but I guess the main reason I model in N scale is because you can get a lot more railroad in a small space with N scale. My layout room measures only 10 feet by 12 feet. If I modeled in HO scale, such a small amount of space would only allow me to create a switching layout. N scale is small, but it's large enough to conduct operations, and I can run longer trains in N scale than I could in HO scale. In fact, I can run trains that are 25 cars long on my layout. I would be limited to trains half that long in HO scale. My layout is a modern era layout, and I need to be able to run long unit trains just like modern prototypes do. Industrial switching is not my primary interest, so I don't have to turn to HO scale, which is better suited for industrial switching. In N scale, I can experience a much better scenery to track ratio. By contrast, HO layouts often look jammed packed full of structures and track to me. I could never capture the feel of long unit trains blazing across the wide open spaces of southern Wyoming in HO scale. The quality and availability of N-scale products is now approaching that of HO scale. Just go to any online store and you'll see tons of stuff in N-scale. As for quality, 18 of my 20 diesels are Catos. They run smoothly and quietly and are very responsive to throttle commands. And take sound. Listen to this N-scale diesel equipped with a Loc sound decoder. I'm told that rolling stock is harder to place on the track in N scale than it is in HO scale, but it's not really hard at all if you use one of these re-railers. And layout photography. That continues to be more challenging in N-scale, but if you get close to trackside with your camera, even N-scale diesels look big. Worldwide, N-scale continues to be second to HO scale in popularity, but in some countries such as Japan, N-scale exceeds HO in popularity. True, I do need to wear these optical visors to do small work when changing couplers and things like that. But I have always been happy with my decision to model in N-scale. I suspect that most N-scalers would continue to model in N-scale even if they had unlimited space. But is N-scale for everybody? Most definitely not. Only you can decide what scale to model in. But I like N-scale and I'm sticking with it. All right. A third question, why did I decide to model the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision? This question is a little harder to answer than the two previous questions, but I can tell you this. I grew up in central Pennsylvania with its hills and forests and fields, and so the layout I built in the 1980s was set in Pennsylvania. However, I have always been fascinated by the deserts and semi-arid areas of the American West and Southwest. The scenery and wide open spaces have always attracted me, especially since the 1970s, when I found myself first in West Texas and later in southern Arizona, courtesy of the U.S. Army. As it happened one day in early 2014, I was browsing around on the internet, as I often do, when by accident I stumbled upon some photographs of Echo Canyon, Utah. I was mesmerized by these photos. Right away I noticed that the Union Pacific runs through Echo Canyon. Well, from there I worked my way east on a map across the Utah-Wyoming border, and then I continued across southwestern Wyoming until I came to the classification yard at Green River. There I stopped because that's when I decided that the UP's classification yard at Green River would become the main classification yard on my layout. I learned about the UP's Evanston Subdivision, which stretches 178 miles from Ogden, Utah to Green River, Wyoming. I soon began to plan a layout based on this prototype. I began to read everything I could about the history, geography, and economy of this region and the Union Pacific running through it. I wanted to capture the feel for this region on my layout. I would be able to run lots of trains across the high plains of southwestern Wyoming and through scenery that fascinated me. I would be able to build a double-track main line just like the prototype. This prototype would not obligate me to fill my layout space with lots of track and industries. I soon learned that Amtrak had discontinued its passenger service along this route in 1997, but for a long time that didn't matter to me because later on I learned that Amtrak does reroute its trains across southern Wyoming when its regular route across Colorado is closed for maintenance and repairs. Hence, I could feature occasional Amtrak trains on my layout. Before long, I stumbled upon Pelle Soberg's HO scale Daneville subdivision layout. Pelle's layout was set in the Mojave Desert of Southern California and was one of the most spectacular things I had ever seen. His layout reaffirmed my decision to model a desert railroad. For me, there would be no turning back to eastern railroads. I would build a western layout with Union Pacific trains running across southern Wyoming into Utah. So there you have it, my answers to the 3 questions which Ron posed for me when he suggested that I tell you my model railroad story as a topic for this video. Now, I would love to hear from you. What got you into model railroading? Why did you choose the scale that you model in? And if your layout is based on a prototype, what prototype do you model and why? Please share your thoughts in the comments section down below, because one of the best things about model railroading is the way we can share the hobby. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I want to encourage you to do so because I post new videos every week and I don't want you to miss any of them. Well, with that, let me thank you for watching this video, and until next time, let me just say, happy railroading.